Hello and welcome everyone. Myself Mijanur Rahaman, and today my topic of discussion is acclimatization and aviation physiology. So let us start. So first of all, acclimatization. What is acclimatization? Definition is acclimatization refers to the adaptation or the adjustment by the body in high altitude. While staying at high altitudes for several days to several weeks, a person slowly gets adapted or adjusted to the low oxygen tension so that hypoxic effects are reduced. It enables the person to ascend further. So, what is acclimatization? Acclimatization refers to the adaptation or the adjustment by the body in high altitude. While staying at high altitudes for several days to several weeks, a person slowly gets adapted or adjusted to the low oxygen tension so that the hypoxic effects are reduced and it enables the person to ascend further. Now, changes during acclimatization. Various changes that takes place during the acclimatization help the body to cope with the adverse effect of hypoxia at high altitude. Following changes occur in the body during acclimatization, like changes in blood. During acclimatization, RBC count increases and packed cell volume rises from normal value of 45% to about 59%, and hemoglobin content in the blood rises from 15 gram percent to 20 gram percent. So the oxygen carrying capacity of the blood is increased, thus more oxygen can be carried to tissues in spite of hypoxia. And it increases in packed cell volume and hemoglobin content is due to erythropoietin action. An increase in RBC count, packed cell volume and hemoglobin content is due to erythropoietin that is released from juxtaglomerular apparatus of kidney. Now changes in cardiovascular system. Overall activity of cardiovascular system is increased in high altitude. There is an increase in rate and force of contraction of the heart and cardiac output, and vascularity in the body is increased due to vasodilation induced by hypoxia. So blood flow to vital organs such as heart, brain, muscle, etc. are increases. Now changes in respiratory system. Pulmonary ventilation. Pulmonary ventilation increases up to 65%. This is the immediate compression for hypoxia in high altitude, and this alone helps the person to ascend several thousand feet. An increase in pulmonary ventilation is due to the stimulation of chemoreceptors. Now, the pulmonary hypertension. Increased cardiac output increases the pulmonary blood flow that leads to pulmonary hypertension. It is very common even in person acclimatized to high altitude. In some of these persons, pulmonary hypertension is associated with right ventricular hypertrophy. Number 3, diffusing capacity of gases. Due to increased pulmonary blood flow and increased ventilation, diffusing capacity of gases increases in alveoli and it enables more diffusion of oxygen in the blood. Now, what are the changes in the tissues? Both in human beings and animals residing at high altitude permanently, the cellular oxidative enzymes involved in metabolic reaction are more than the inhabitants at sea level. Even when a sea level inhabitant stays at high altitude for a certain period, the amount of oxidative enzymes is not increased. So, the elevation in the amount of oxidative enzymes occurs only in fully acclimatized person. An increase in number of mitochondria is observed in these persons. Now, aviation physiology. Aviation physiology is the study of physiological responses of the body in aviation environment. Flying exerts great effects on the body through accelerative forces and gravitational forces, which are developed during the flight. Maneuvering pilots and other crew members of aircraft are trained to overcome the effect of these forces. First, accelerative force. Acceleration means change in the velocity. Flying straight in horizontal plane with constant velocity has minimum effect on the body. However, changes in velocity produce severe physiological effect. Accelerative forces are developed in the flight during linear, radial, or centripetal and angular acceleration. Now, gravitational force. Gravitational force or G force is the major factor that develops accelerative force. G force and the direction in which body receives the force are responsible for the physiological changes in the body during acceleration. And force or pull of gravity upon the body is expressed in G unit. On the earth, this pull is responsible for the body weight. Force of gravity while sitting, standing, or lying position is considered to be equal to body weight, and it is referred to as 1g. G unit increases in acceleration. If we say that G unit increases to 5g, then during acceleration, and it means that the force of gravity on the body at that moment is equal to 5 times of the body weight. While traveling in an airplane, the elevator or a car, if there is a sudden change in speed or direction, passengers are thrown or centrifuged in the opposite direction. It is because of change in the G unit. G unit may increase or decrease. Increase in G unit is called positive G, and decrease in G unit is called negative G. Positive G occurs while increasing the speed acceleration, and negative G occurs while decreasing the speed or slowing down or deceleration. Now G unit is altered during the change in direction also. While flying, both positive G and negative G cause physiological changes in the body. Now effects of gravitational forces on the body. Effects of positive G. Major effects of positive G during acceleration are on the blood circulation. When G unit increases to about 4 to 5g, and blood is pushed toward the lower parts of the body including abdomen, so the cardiac output decreases and resulting in reduced blood supply to the brain and eyes. And decreased blood flow in turn decreases the oxygen supply or hypoxia to the head and leads to following disturbances like gray out. Gray out is the graying of vision that occurs when blood flow to eyes starts diminishing. It occurs because the retina is more sensitive to hypoxia than the brain. Though physical impairment does not occur, gray out is considered as a warning for decreased blood flow to head. Now, blackout. Blackout is the complete loss of vision that occurs when the retinal function is affected by hypoxia, and consciousness and muscular activities are still retained, but it indicates the risk of loss of consciousness. Now, loss of consciousness. When the force increased beyond 5g, the hypoxia reaches in the critical level and causes the loss of consciousness. It may be associated with convulsion. Unconscious state may last for about 15 seconds. After recovery, from unconsciousness, the person needs another 10 to 15 minutes for orientation. In the affected person happens to be a lone pilot when he will lose control over his aircraft. Now, fracture of bones. When the force increases to about 20g, bones, particularly the spine, becomes susceptible for fracture even during sitting position. Now, effects of negative G. Negative G develops while flying downwards, inverted flying. It causes following disturbances. When the force decreases to -4 to -6g, the hyperemia, abnormal increase in blood flow, occurs in head because of the blood is pushed towards the head. Sometimes the blood accumulates in head, resulting in brain edema. There is congestion, flushing of face, and mild headache. Negative G at this level is tolerable, and the effects are only momentary. Brain also can withstand hyperemia in such condition. Now, readout and headache. Readout is the blurring of vision and sudden reddening of visual field caused by engorgement of blood vessel in head. When the negative G reaches to about -15g to -20g, there is dilation and congestion of blood vessel in the head and eyes, resulting in readout and headache. Now, blood vessels in brain may not be affected much because of CSF, but when the blood accumulates in the brain, there is simultaneous pulling of CSF in the cranium. Now, the high pressure exerted by CSF acts as an cushion or buffer and protects the blood vessel of brain. Now, loss of consciousness. High negative G affects the body of the by the other means, and it increases the pressure in the blood vessel of the chest. and neck, and it causes bradycardia or irregular heartbeat, which adds on stagnation of blood in the head. All these factors ultimately lead to unconsciousness. Prevention of effects of G forces on the body. Body can be protected from effects of G forces, particularly positive G, by the following methods, like by using abdominal belt. Pulling of blood in the abdominal blood vessel is prevented by using abdominal belt and leaning forward while sitting in the aircraft. This procedure postpones the grey out or blackout by using anti-G suit. Anti-G suit exerts a positive pressure on lower limbs and abdomen and prevents the pooling of blood in lower part of the body. So this is our today's topic.